October 2000, 19-year-old Susan Cox is at a Mormon singles event where she meets a 24-year-old man named Josh Powell. 2 months later, using Susan's employee discount at the JCPenney jewelry counter, Josh proposed with a diamond ring Susan bought and he later paid her back for. On April 6, 2001, just 6 months after meeting each other, Susan and Josh were married in Portland, Oregon at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Like most young married couples, Josh and Susan did not have a large income, so to help save money, they decided to move into the home of Josh's dad, Susan Powell, in Washington State. It wasn't long before Susan started to feel uncomfortable with the new living arrangements. For starters, there weren't enough bedrooms in the house for everyone living there, so to give everyone privacy, they hung sheets from the ceiling to divide up the space. Unfortunately, that wasn't even close to being the most awkward part, as Susan learned that Stephen was in love with her. And not just in love with her, freakishly obsessed with her.
I fantasize that she'll come down here and join me, but so far that's a daydream that hasn't come true.
Once she found a mirror taped underneath a table. He was using it to look at her bare legs. He would collect her nail clippings. He would collect the cotton swabs she used to take off her nail polish. And I swear to you, he even collected her tampon applicators out of the trash can. Finally, after begging and pleading with Josh, he agreed to move, and back to Utah they went. The following year, Susan gave birth to their first son, Charlie, followed by the birth of baby Braden a few years after that. From the outside looking in, life was nearly perfect for the Powell family. Perfect, that is, until Monday, December 7, 2009 at 6:30 a.m. when daycare owner Debbie Caldwell is growing concerned that Susan hadn't yet dropped off 4-year-old Charlie and 2-year-old Braden. She called Susan's cell phone, no answer. Josh's cell phone, no answer. She called Susan's employer. She was a no-show. Debbie decides to drive to their home and she notices the car's gone. At this point, her mind is going crazy and she starts to think maybe they were poisoned by carbon monoxide. So she calls Josh's mom and sister, who are listed as the emergency contacts, and together the 3 women call 911. Police arrive, and after getting no response at the door, they decide to break a window in order to conduct a welfare check. Police notice 2 suspicious things. 1, Susan's purse, wallet, and keys were left behind, and 2, there were 2 box fans on full blast drying the carpet in the living room. Family and friends spend the entire day looking for them. All of a sudden, at 7 p.m., their prayers are answered when they see the family car pull up. But one person is blatantly missing: Susan. Josh starts explaining that at midnight, the night prior, he decided to take the 2 boys winter camping. When police ask where in the hell is Susan, he says he has no idea because she decided to not go camping with them. Back at the station, police are grilling Josh, but he sticks to the same story, which is that he has no clue where his wife is because she didn't go with them. While Josh is in one room being interviewed by police, Charlie is in another room being interviewed by police. And Charlie's version of the story is much different. He tells police that Mommy did go camping with us, but that she did not come back.
Well, what did you do last night?
Go camping.
When you guys came home from camping, who came home with you?
My dad
And?
my mom stayed where a Christmas card.
Almost immediately, Josh is listed as a person of interest, but they don't have enough evidence to place him under arrest. With mounting pressure and all eyes on Josh, he packs up the boys in the middle of the night and drives to Washington State and moves back in with his creepy father, Susan Powell. Josh tells people that Susan ran away. He says he's read her diaries and he feels confident that she ran away because she needed to get away from her parents. At the same time, Susan Powell starts telling people that Susan ran away with a man named Stephen Kutcher. He just happened to go missing around the same time as Susan. Police investigated this and did not find a single shred of evidence to support this idea. Tired of the lies, Susan's friends and family decide to come forward and publicly announce that Susan was a victim of domestic violence. Susan was abused in multiple ways, but one of Josh's favorite was financial. He loved having complete control over their finances and having the final say on what Susan could or could not purchase. Josh could not hold down a job, so even though Susan was the only person contributing to the checking account, she was not allowed to use any of her own money. Her check would go through automatic deposit, and then he would constantly change the password so that she couldn't access the account. Her allowance was $10 a week to feed herself and the boys. One time, Josh bought a case of canned chili because it was on sale. That was Susan's lunch every single day for weeks. Another friend remembered Susan asking if they could spare an extra hot dog so that Susan could feed her boys. Another way Josh liked to control Susan was with the family vehicle. Even though it was in Susan's name and she paid for it, he did not allow her to use it. In fact, she had to bike to and from work every day despite Josh not even having a job half the time. 2 years go by, and remember, Josh is now living in Washington with his dad. Susan's parents, who so badly want to find their daughter, decide that desperate times call for desperate measures, and they go to Washington to hold a honkin' wave. They did this close to Stephen and Josh's home on purpose. They wanted to grab their attention, and their attention they grabbed because all of a sudden, Stephen and Josh show up.
How is you coming here helping to find Susan?
It isn't helping to find Susan. How is your standing at our neighborhood market helping to find Susan, Chuck?
On August 25th, 2011, police obtained a search warrant for the home of Susan Powell. This is when we learn the depth of Stephen's obsession with Susan.
God, I worship her. She just turns me on. I'm in a perpetual state of turmoil when she's around.
I just had what is probably the most erotic experience I've had in my entire life.
Here's my stash of pictures that I feel very fortunate to have. There she is, and I don't know when. This is another high school shot, probably.
He would follow her around, record her, take pictures of her, cut out pictures of her head and put them on the bodies of people in magazines. He even wrote a song about her. With the search warrant, police found pictures of his neighbor's minor daughters in the bathtub. It was enough for the judge to remove Charlie and Braden from Stephen's home and remove them from Josh's care. Finally, the judge agreed that it was in the best interest of Charlie and Braden to live with Susan's parents. In June 2012, Stephen was sentenced to 30 months in prison for child pornography. As police continued to investigate, they learned more about Susan's state of mind in the months leading up to her disappearance. She was accepting of the fact that Josh would not change, and she knew she needed to leave him. Police were able to trace a key that had been on Susan's keyring to a safety deposit box at a bank downtown. In the box were 2 items: a handwritten letter titled "Last Will and Testament for Susan Powell." The letter clearly states that she did not trust her husband and she was in fear of her life. She even went as far as to say, "If anything happens to me, Josh did it." The second item was a VHS tape that Susan had made documenting all of their assets.
This is me, July 29th, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
It's now February 1st, 2012, and not only has the judge removed the children from Josh's care, but the judge also told Josh that he would need to pass a psychosexual evaluation and pass a lie detector test in order to get the boys back. A few days later, on Super Bowl Sunday, it was time for Josh's first supervised visit with a social worker named Elizabeth Griffin. She pulls up to Josh's rental, and as kids often do, they ran ahead of her to their father's front door. Once the boys were inside the house, Josh smirked at Elizabeth and locked the door. From outside, she then hears Josh say, "Hey Charlie, come here, I have a big surprise for you," followed by a blood-curdling scream. She starts to smell gasoline and calls 911. As she's waiting for police, she hears and sees a massive explosion. Once his 2 little boys were inside, Josh took a hatchet to both of his little boys' heads. He then sat on a 5-gallon gas can and ignited it. An autopsy later revealed that all 3 died from smoke inhalation. In July 2018, at the age of 67, Susan Powell died from natural causes after being released from prison. Susan Powell's parents sued the state of Washington and were awarded $98.5 million. As of this recording, July 13, 2024, the body of Susan Powell has not been recovered.